find comfort. Is this getting easier for you to begin to get more and more distinctions about how do I know when I'm comfortable? It's a big part of this work. How do I know? Okay, allow your head to drop as much as possible forward. So it's not that you're slowly looking down. This is really about just allow your head to give up its work in a forward direction. And really notice when your head's given up its work in this direction, what's the plane of your face? I want to say relevant, it's not with reference to the floor. And where are your eyes looking? Are your eyes looking directly out of the socket? Or are they looking down a little bit or to the right a little bit? So where is your eye actually sitting in your socket? And can you find a way that you could drop your head and allow your eyes to be looking exactly out of the middle of your sockets? Is that a possibility? That there's something about I can just give my head up, I can give my eyes up. And to do that, my eyes would just be looking out, directly out of the socket. Okay, then from that position, begin to think again of the pendulum that we started with, Arlene, last week. So get a sense of where the bottom of your pendulum would be, which is going to be where your head and your eyes are oriented. And very, very slowly begin to oscillate your head and your eyes. Very slowly. And gradually increase the size of your pendulum. And really notice, do your eyes get ahead of your head? Do they lag behind? Can you find a way to do this with your pendulum that you feel your head and your eyes can begin to track together? And you just notice, where does your pendulum go? And it's going to depend on your organisation. So you've started at a particular point. Does it go straight to the side? Or as your pendulum goes, does it sort of go down and back a little bit to the right? So don't be constrained by thinking this pendulum has to stay in one plane. And you might find your pendulum goes a little bit off differently to the other side. And go at a pace and a speed that you can feel that your entire self could begin to rock in synchrony with this movement of your head and your eyes in the pendulum. So every part of you will begin to rock to the right as your head and your eyes go up to the right, and then you come back down, finding that point. Maybe it'll change where you're looking at the bottom as you keep going. Maybe your head gives up a little bit more of its work. And then you head off to the left and you feel every part of you is heading off to the left. And if it's not, if you're going in the opposite direction of your pelvis, that doesn't make sense if your head and your eyes are doing this movement. So feel as you do this pendulum, where does your chin go? Where does your chin go? Does your chin try and stay in the middle? Or can you begin to sense for some of you that your chin could begin to move through space? Move through space to the right and the left as you follow this pendulum. Mm. Mm. But you're really leading it with your head and your eyes, your head and your eyes. And the rest of you is coming along for the ride. Rest of you is coming along for the ride. And then just explore, pause for a moment, and then just explore how the position of your legs or the position of your arms might influence this head circle. This head, I should say, pendulum. Yeah? So if your feet were crossed, maybe you could put the soles of your feet together, or if they were crossed, you can cross them the other way. You can have your arms forward, you can have your arms back, you can have your hands holding your feet, but simply explore. And before you start doing the movement, once you've changed your position, just take a moment to scan, how comfortable am I here? So is there something about the comfort of the initial position that is going to influence your head and your eyes being able to make this pendulum? So just as Feldenkrais was talking about correct posture the other day, this fundamental idea of comfort for our structure, for our history. And feel, are your shoulders following? Is your sternum following? Is your pelvis following? Are your knees responding? Your elbows, your hands, your feet? Are they all beginning to understand, even though you're in quite a symmetrical position? How do you begin to feel in this symmetrical position that all of me can still be organised to go to the right or the left, following my head? So are your knees rocking a little bit left and right? Are your feet shifting a little bit left and right? Is your weight shifting a little bit on your hands? Where are the bits that you try and post or that get left out of your image? And really feeling your eyes and your head. That's the foreground. The rest is all background, just shifting your attention around. Finding this place in yourself where you've got the space to shift your attention. So your shoulders are turning a little bit. Pelvis is turning a little bit. Your ribs and your spine. Mm. 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 Okay, so find the most comfortable position for your legs and have your arms behind you. Mm. And a comfortable position for your legs is also in terms of, this is the rant he was doing the other day. You know what the movement is we're doing. What we're doing. So you know the rant about where your arm was on your head? So you want a position for your legs that's going to enhance your ability to do this movement. Your arms are behind, and very gently begin with your pendulum again and find a way to turn that into a full head circle. And feel how all of you, because everything's going over to the right as your head goes to the right. So your weight shifts to the right as your head goes over to the right. You make your circle and your weight shifts to the left as your head goes to the left. And really feel, to do this, your chin must be making a circle in space. To get this weight shift. And again, if you're not sure about that, leave your chin in the middle and feel what happens. And feel what plane of movement gets clearer when you leave your chin in the middle. And what plane of movement gets clearer when your chin moves to the left and right. Okay, pause for a moment. So what did you find? How does this movement of the chin influence the planes of movement? Yeah, sorry? When it stays in the middle, it's more rotation. Any idea? Everyone agree with that? When it stays in the middle, you get more rotation. You found the opposite. Mm. Hmm? Anyone else willing to? Your eyes stopped moving when you put your chin in the middle. Mm. Mm. The weight shift changes immediately, doesn't it? Goes to the opposite hip, usually. Yeah? As soon as you keep your chin in the middle. So let's have a look at Anka. Because this is where it's really interesting, because these are movements, most of us don't know where our head is in space, honestly. And I still find it absolutely amazing that the one thing that Felden, and I've probably said this before, fills out in incredible detail in scans is the head. There's all of these lessons absolutely devoted to the distance between, well, you did the scan, distance between your ears, distance between your eyes, all this tally scepter. What's the back? What's the front? Making circles. Can all of your head gradually be included? Because most of us do not know where our head is. So, Anka, keep your chin in the middle and do your circle. Is she rotating or is she side bending? I'll have to get her hair out of the way. So, yeah. So she's really keeping her chin in the middle. Okay, so she's keeping her chin in the middle. That's all side bending. Huh? Okay. Yeah? Now, take your chin. That's rotate. And she still wants to go there. Yeah? Because what she's doing, and the reason she still wants to go there is she's powering this movement from the shoulders. Yeah? Yeah? Yeah. So it's still not easy. So just see, how could you just see if you can follow your head? No, no, no. Let your shoulders go. They want to take over. See how they immediately want to do something? Yeah?
I'm really confused what I meant.
You're confused.
Yeah.
That. No, no, That's fascinating to me. Yeah? So there's a real in your system, you know, because you move beautifully, but there's a real that as soon as you want to do that, you want to do that, you want to do that. Well, it'll keep you, it's a great counterbalance. Yeah, it's an absolutely fantastic counterbalance. So that would be great if someone, you know, if I want to go that way, but I want to keep my balance. It's not so much about moving through space. Yeah?
I don't feel so bad now because I found that last week really confusing. I didn't know where my leg was. I knew everything was moving, but I didn't know in relation to what.
So every
Hang
time,
on.
every time where our eyes are going to the right, everything to the right.
If your eyes are going to the right,
Because I noticed when I was doing that, I was holding in the shoulders, you know, instead of maybe just being a bit curious and try something.
Were you asking us to rotate then the whole?
if your chin's moving in space, what has to happen? To turn. If I'm going to stay on this leg and I keep my chin in the middle, where's my weight going to have to go? Huh? Huh? So if I really, so there, you could say that one of the things could be I'm really left-eye dominant. Huh? So I'm just going to really use my left eye to go around there. So my weight's going to go there. Huh? But who knows what started the pattern? I don't know. Huh? But if that is never going to give me that. You can do whatever you like. But again, well, it's telling you something about maybe what's still to learn. And it's not length. It's enough different parts of you being able to be involved in the movement. It's habits. It's habits of, oh, I'm used to holding all that together. Yeah, just like Pat said, oh, I was really stuck to the ground.
Yeah,
huh?
actually, I used to put my hands on my bottom. Oh, now I've got way to make it. Otherwise, there's no way to make it.
Yeah. Yeah, because how did, you know, and it depends where, you know, if you're propelling the movement from your pelvis, well, what happens? If you're doing it from your head, if you're doing it from your head only, you could still, yeah, but you'll get really confused. Just like you were saying, all of a sudden it will not make sense to you. Yeah? Because you're getting conflicting messages about what you're doing. Yeah? But once you get this idea that your head and your eyes can all begin to go together.
This morning, that this one, which is what a lot of us are doing, feels very much like a retreat. And that one feels like more of a fighting one. I think it's a big fighting.
Look, it could be. I think it's much more organisation. You know, we could give it a meaning.
Yeah.
And, you know, you need both. That's what you need both. But if I'm doing this, which is all martial arts, to go to the back leg. I don't do martial arts, but I know enough to know that they go to the back leg a lot. To do that, what does that do to my organisation? Because this is staying more fixed in a way. Do you know what I mean? I'm staying in a particular relationship to this leg. As soon as I turn and do that, I'm going somewhere. So that's the difference, as I was saying, between counterbalance, when I'm staying in one spot and moving around that spot on the ground, or if I'm going somewhere. They're two different organisations. It's not that they're good or bad. We need both of them. Huh? And it's just noticing which one do you tend to do. Do you like to keep your ground? Or are you someone who is always ready to go off? So they're both, it's exploring all the possibilities. Okay, come back to your mats.
So when you were asking us to chin, I felt that my eyes were going. But I was thinking the eyes were in circle, the chin was going. So it's more like flick of breeze. The eyes I feel.
Well, again, it depends what you mean by a circle. Are you trying to get a circle here? You know, can you feel that for your organisation, it's a great big? Yeah. The big thing for a lot of you to feel is what happens when you let your chin move to your ability to find some freedom in your upper neck. Huh? Because one of the ways you can also think about it is when the chin stays in the middle, this moves a lot more. Often. Yeah, you're getting something. Huh? That's how he started the head circles. It's like we've got your pelvis, we've built up your pelvis. Well, if we get you doing this, what's it going to start getting in here? Okay, we've got that, we've got that, we've got this, we've got this. Now, can we begin to feel how your head can get free on top of it? Back to your mats. So all of these lists, they're just building up layer upon layer upon layer of organisation. Okay, so now do your circle again, and this time really think of that upper axis that we were talking about yesterday. Think about where is the top of my spine, where is it attached onto my skull. So that as I do this head circle now, not so much the pendulum, but the head circle, can I feel what's going to happen way up the top and how everything underneath can respond to that? And start to see if you can sense that the more you can find that you're leading right from your skull, right from your cranium, from your jaw, if you like, that's where you're leading it from. Can you feel for many of you that you don't have to do as big a movement through space? That it becomes much more subtle? Everything's still following. But the higher you get this level of organisation, as you've crept it up from your pelvis, through your middle, through your chest, through to your base of your neck, including your arms and legs, that your head can do this movement. More and more right up the top. So you're getting a clear sense of where your head is. So we've built it all the way up from the bottom, and not just this segment, through all the segments that we've been doing, to give you the chance. And you get where you get to, and there's a million more ATMs to come in the segments to come that are going to keep helping you to clarify this freedom of your head. This idea that all of you can be oriented to go in one direction. So some of you, does it make a difference if you do it with your eyes open? To make a difference. And most of us will normally find that if the eyes are leading, that the head movement becomes much slower. Because it's always quicker to move your head than your eyes. Okay, so now, can you come to, which way, so I don't get lost here. Lean on the floor with your left hand. You can have your legs however you want them, as long as they're going to help your head circle, but symmetrical, any way you like, but symmetrical. Put your right arm up in the air. Yeah? Symmetrical, Barb, symmetrical. Your legs, symmetrical. Yeah, so they can be long, yeah, that's it. Where has your weight shifted by putting you, getting you into this position? Are you still staying centre? So where would it make sense for your weight to go? To let this arm reach up to the ceiling? Just for you at the moment, where would it make sense to go? Yeah? Okay, so now in this position, could you imagine that your head and your arm are connected, and you're going to start making this circle with your head and your arms going along for the ride? So your arms, it's like you've got a bit of a stick, if you like, between your right upper arm and your right ear. So wherever your arm goes, your head goes. The arm, as I said, it's like you've got a stick between your ear and your arm. Huh? So wherever your head goes, your arm goes. You do absolutely have to have your left hand on the ground. Absolute requirement. Absolute requirement. And if you just give up a little bit, soften your intention, some of you a little bit, as you do this, do you find your weight tends to come more over one sit bone than the other? That there's something about being in this asymmetrical position that if you're not trying to make things happen, if maybe you're allowing something to emerge, that maybe you'd start circling a little bit more around one sit bone than the other. Make it a little bit easier. So your head's still making just a little circle. You can have your eyes open or closed. It's not, you're not going for a big circle here. Just a very free movement of your head. So you've got yes and no. And go in the other direction if you haven't already done that. So which side is your weight shifting to? The left. Huh? See if you can feel that. As you do this, because you've got your left hand out there to the left, see if you can feel that somehow that would make sense, that your weight would gradually start organising to come more over your left side. Okay, stay up, stay up, stay up. Stay up. I'll use my Darby as my... So can you go into that position, Darby, with your arm up? And you can feel that your weight's come over onto your left, yeah? So you can feel that as she's but she's not making a circle with her head. Can you feel, see? Yeah? So where's your head making the circle? That's it. That's it. Huh? That's it. And as she gets further over here, she's still, see how this isn't still letting that pelvis lengthen down? Because if she's really on this side, let your head go, let your head go. That's what would happen. She'd get longer on this side without weight bearing on it. Yeah? So she's shortening on her weight bearing side. How's that feel, Madhavi? Yeah? Let your head go more. There she goes. That's getting better. Okay, so let me do it on you, Barb. Okay, because this is a construct that we have that we're playing with here, yeah? So most of us when we reach our arm, what would we do to reach taller? Which foot would we come to? Yeah, you're hanging out the washing, I don't know, you're reaching for something. Where would most of us take our weight to get taller?
Right side.
Yeah, we'd go to the same side. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And that's what you can do, yeah? So if I really wanted to get taller though, yeah, because here I've reached all my weights on this side. If I'd do exactly what Glenn did. If I wanted to get a little bit higher, this would drop. And that'd actually give me more reach. But that's not what this is so much about. It's about giving up the weight on one side. It's about you feeling I can organise my head over one sit bone or the other sit bone. So try it the other side. So your left arm up in the air. And again, is it different to have your left arm in the air? Where does your weight go? What do you do? So can you find a way with your left arm up in the air and your right arm taking weight? Your right arm must be taking weight. Otherwise, the muscles can't give up their work in your back. And first of all, just find a way, can I get there and my weight comes to my right side? Is that even a possibility? Yeah. Because you can see Glenn's coming over here and he's getting longer on his right side. He has to get shorter on his right side. See, you want to get long on your right side, get short on your right side. Oh, I want to give you a challenge to go home with, that's all. I know what Glenn needs to keep his learning going. Some of you don't need that challenge. For him, it's like, whoa, let's go and investigate this. Other side. Huh? But that makes sense to you. That's what awareness through movement is it might not make sense to you. So again, you're making a circle and you're just feeling, can I give up more and more work on my right side now? More and more work on my right side and let the weight come on to my right side. So I can find this way of being on my leg that it doesn't always have to be so that I can be on my right side at the moment and my head has still got all of these possibilities over my right sit bone. So on one leg, I've got all these possibilities of moving my head. And feel free to go to the other side again. So how do you find, what do you have to soften? What do you have to give up? And that's the thing, you know, when I intervene and give you an idea, you've got to really get that you've got to go back into quality to find it. No? You can't make it happen. And that's why for many, you know, Feldenkrais, Arlene's another expert, wonderful person at it, she'll leave you in there just finding that it will emerge all on its own if you get out of the way. But it's such a big one for those of us who are so organised always, as I said, to counterbalance in life. Now we can do everything without shifting our weight. Huh? But we need both. We need the ability not to shift our weight, and we need the ability to move through space. If I'm going there, I'm going there. Have a lie on your back. Let's see what this has done. Roll your head. Does it feel any different after doing that? Does any more of you feel involved or ready to go? Because we've been doing a lot of shifting your weight. Perhaps you can feel a difference. Perhaps. Perhaps there's maybe something a little bit more in your sternum or your ribs or your spine. So again, coming back to, we improve by listening to ourselves, by sensing ourselves. And when we're trying out an option, when we're going, oh, Julia, but can I stay within quality as I'm exploring that option? So could you bend your knees and have one hand under each knee? Bend your knees to the chest, one hand under each knee. Where you've been, yeah? So not under, so under your kneecap, so under the front of your thigh, under the front of your lower leg. And really notice to be there. Are you comfortable? How wide apart do you have your knees? Are your feet in your image? Are your knees, your hips, your spine? And very gently begin to move your knees a little bit away from each other and towards each other. So one goes to the left, one goes to the right. And get a sense of what that movement does to your contact on the ground, to the width of you, to your ribs, to your arms, so they're opening away from each other. And it's easy and soft. And you're really noticing, does one knee go in a little bit different trajectory than the other? So as they're opening to the side, or maybe one foot swings in and the other one doesn't swing in. Or maybe your feet swing out. But simply notice, what do you do? So as you take your knees wider, do your feet come closer together? Do they stay at the same distance? Do they track, keep the same distance apart? Or maybe for some of you, they get wider than your knees. They sort of lead the movement out. Just explore some of those options, because we've been doing lots of movements of your hip circling and your knees and your feet. So how do all those different organisations of your leg influence what happens in your back, in your breathing? Okay, so then bring them back where you originally started them with. And this time, as you take them apart, could one go up and one go down? So up means in the direction of your head, down means in the direction of your pelvis. So you're starting to, they start off in the middle, you start to spread them apart, and then you do a diagonal really. One's going up, one's going down. But you're not rolling. No, you're not rolling here. And each time your knees sort of come back to the midline or to somewhere comfortable. They don't have to be together, but just somewhere where you started. And then you begin to spread them a little bit more, and you take one out, one up and one down. And you see, what does that do through your torso? Up is in the direction of your head, down is in the direction of your pelvis. No, but you're doing it as you're opening, as you're widening your knees. That's it. So you're doing a whole combination of movements here. It's not just in and out. They're not just spreading apart and coming together, but you're finding a way to combine these movements so that the two sides of your torso are going to have to be making two different shapes. So really feel this is not just a movement of your hip joints. Your two shoulders will be going in slightly different directions. What does your head do? What does your head want to follow? Maybe your head wants to turn to look at the knee coming up. And when I say turn, I just don't mean rotate, but it's just interested more with all the possibilities that of your head feeling way up to the base of your skull. Or maybe it could turn in the opposite direction or orient. So if maybe as you're bringing your right knee up and out to the right as the left knee goes down and out to the left, maybe you want to orient your head more towards your right knee or to the right. But maybe you could try the opposite as well, that your head might be interested in the other. And you could play around with, does the back of my head stay where it is in space, that it moves on the floor, but I sort of keep the back of my head softly on the ground? Or do I move my head through space? They're both different organisations, both asking something different. And really notice your eyes tracking your head. Okay, now pause in the middle, holding both knees. And just notice, are they further apart for some of you than what you first started with? So some of us really love keeping our knees close, and we probably also like keeping our chin in the middle. Maybe there's a relationship there. So if you were thinking of what we did yesterday with Margaret rolling up to sitting. So if you were going to roll to your right, go slowly. So your right knee is going to go over to the right. Where does it go? Where does it go for you? Where does your head go? Really small, really small. So does your right knee want to come up a little bit? Does it go straight out to the side? Does it go down a little bit? What's your habit? If you were going to roll to your right, where would, for you, it make sense for your knee to go? And where would your head turn? So your head's going to roll to the right as you do it. So really explore what happens differently. My head's going to roll to the right, but I could reach my right knee a little bit away from me to roll to the right. I could bring it a little bit up toward me. So we're really thinking of all of these possibilities with your legs. So is your way of rolling to the right that you just spread the two knees apart from each other? Which is absolutely a way you can do this. So if one knee is coming closer to you, maybe your right knee is coming closer to you, can you feel then your left knee? There's probably a particular point where your left knee is going to go away from you. But feel your way, so that your torso can begin to do something a little asymmetrical. And then feel, what would you do to the left? What would you do to the left? And your arms are softly holding your knees, elbows are soft. So just really feel where you'd go. We really played a lot with a lot of these options. Just feel, where would you go? Where do I take now my left knee, and how do I roll to find that place where my right knee wants to lengthen a little bit away from me? And whenever you get stuck, what's happened to your head and your eyes? Whenever you get stuck, what's happened to your head and your eyes? So if you thought for a moment that you're going to roll to the right, where would you end up looking if you actually just come up to the right? Just come up. Don't worry if you're not in great quality, but come up, roll up to the right. And feel, where is your head oriented to there? Where would you be? Where would you be looking when you came up to the right? And really notice if to get there, did you do it in a way that your eyes are looking at the horizon, or you're looking down? So now you know where your head's going to end up. So go down onto your back again and think about, I'm going to take my head and eyes to that position in space. That's where I'm going. I'm taking my head and eyes to that position in space. Does that influence how you come up? So I'm finding I've got a really clear sense of the trajectory my head needs to go through. And you can feel now that you can do it. You don't need to hold on to your knees. So your hands can be free. And just feel what happens if you just think, I'm going to be rolling to the right to look out to the horizon. So we always keep talking about these ideas of timing, orientation and manipulation. So we've done heaps on the manipulation in all these ATMs, including all the different parts in the image. And then what happens if we put in orientation? That we get this freedom of the head where that's where I'm going, that's where I'm ending up in space. And then to the left. That's where I'm going, that's where I'm ending up in space. And I can see some of you are really beginning to find that once you really clarify the orientation, this is what great sports people do. And it's based on great organisation. They don't have to think about where all their parts are. It's just I'm going there. Huh? That's where I'm going. Now I'm going over there. And can you feel that this, if you like, this intentionality to the movement, this really including the external environment. It's just another way of moving. So that when someone gets it, this is all, you know, no, I won't go there. But when they talk about the head-on body writing reactions, this is it. You take your head through space and everything follows. Everything just knows what to do. Okay, come up to standing. Notice what emerges for you after that lesson. But usually after a lesson like that, we're not quite so internally oriented because we've had to move through space. So it brings us out into the world. So just turn to look behind you now. Do you have to think much? So it's just your head. You're taking your head as quick as you can to look behind you. Huh? Now we've got some chins moving a little bit more, Anka. Can you feel the difference? Yeah? No? Okay. So, just to finish, could you go back to your partner and roll their head again? Before we have a break. Just want you to feel, can you make any distinctions